Welcome to New Tracks Workshop. My name is Jim Kello. I'm the creator and host for New Tracks, where mentors help modelers build. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you come back often and tell your friends about our show. These Saturday workshops are a new project for New Tracks. They've resulted from comments I've received from modelers about scratch building and Chris Blackmar's interest in producing and leading this effort. The segments are structured like the popular build-along segments on our Wednesday evening shows, except these Saturday shows are designed to show modelers how to scratch build a model. I personally believe that scratch building is one of the most creative parts of model railroading, and I think you'll agree if you try it. Here is your opportunity to work with some skilled modelers to learn how to do it. You will learn the steps, the skills, the techniques involved in scratch building a model in any scale you want. There are no kits to buy, only the needed scratch building supplies. The plans that will be used for the model, you can download on your computer at no cost. The show's moderator, Chris Blackmar, is a very talented and artistic modeler, and he and his guest will guide you through the complete scratch building process, one small step at a time. After all, that's what mentoring is all about.
Okay, and I cut the video short just to keep us going real fast here because of the late start. And let's see here. The next thing I needed to do was we do have kind of a tradition that we're trying to get going here on the New Tracks channel, and that is a short invocation at the beginning of each show. And Father Ron has a little prayer that he gives. I'm going to start calling it the modeler's prayer for in the future. I think it's pretty apt because I don't know about you guys, but I can use any help I can get in my modeling. So Father Ron, if you would please.
Oh God, as we express our creativity in creating in miniature the world around us, may we marvel at the beauty and genius which created the world and instilled in us a portion of your great knowledge and wisdom. Give success to the work of our hands, O God. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ron. And let's get this show on the road. I'm going to kind of change formats here a little bit today. And first of all, I wanted to kick it off and see if one of the guys is here that was on last week. And where are my notes? I hate being late. We had a gentleman, and he sent in some stuff to the my build, and that was Bill Simpson. Is he on tonight, this afternoon, this morning, whatever? I'm not seeing him. Okay, well, the next thing is this show is for you guys, and it's not just to sit here and watch me model. So I'm going to go around and ask a couple of you other folks what you may be working on. And so Bob Farquhar, can you unmute yourself and kind of tell us what you may be working on?
Interaction Coca-Cola machine. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Ah, cool.
It's going to be lit up as well.
Yeah, I can see. I was going to say, I see a little wire sticking out of the bottom of that sucker.
Cigarette machines.
Ooh.
And ice boxes or ice machines.
All right. All right. How's that going together for you? Because I was going to...
That ice machine is fantastic. It really is good. The other ones you have to just watch. They go together really well. Just have to watch what you're doing.
Okay. Are you and you're building those in HO, correct?
Yes, it's HO scale, yeah.
And are you going to weather that ice machine at all?
Yeah, it is weathered. Yeah, hard to see it right now, but it's,
Okay, okay. Yeah, I guess I can see that upper, it'd be the right-hand corner when it's facing us. So, okay, very good. And what color white did you use on that?
I use a warm white.
Okay,
Because I
and
find the regular, like a white is too white. I use a warm white. It's the whitest white I ever use.
okay, and when you say warm white, so it's a red
No,
white? or
No,
a
it's
blue?
just like almost like a dirty white almost.
Okay, so
Oh,
a
white.
cream. More
No,
of a-
not even that. No, not. It's whiter than that.
Okay, okay. Was it a Vallejo paint or a?
Oh no, just a craft paint.
Just a craft paint. Okay,
Yep.
okay. All right. All right. And how about Clayton Peter? I'm gonna put a few people on the spot here. Clayton, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself and tell us what you may be working on and what scale you may be in.
Yeah, it's Clayton Peter here. I'm from London, Ontario, Canada.
Okay,
I'm in S scale standard,
okay,
and right now I'm working on cleaning engines and lubing them up again. They haven't been done for a while. But I've been watching since the very start, and I'm kind of thinking about doing the paper model, but I'm just kind of wait to see what ideas I get from here.
okay. Well, if nothing else, Paul Egri has on our the New Tracks website, the paper model is out there. It's 2 pages. If you wanted to just download that and print it out, you could put it on some cardboard box or something, like a cereal box or something for a stiffening on the back, and it wouldn't cost you anything but the, cost of printing the thing out in your time. So if you wanted to just kind of give it a little bit of a feel, that would kind of get you going, just to give you a feel on that. And I'd love to see what you come up with. I've got to build that myself here. I just haven't gotten around to it because I'm spending so much time elsewhere.
I am working on another one at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
usually get here on Saturdays because of other commitments, but
Okay.
hello, everybody.
Well, thank you for providing those files to us. It is appreciated. And I'm going to go and grab one other person here. I'm going to try to make this 3 folks. How about Tom O'Hara from up there in Bellingham, good old Beeham, near my old stomping ground. And Bill, can you kind of give us what you're doing? Or Tom, I'm sorry.
I'm not, okay, I have a 15-minute explanation of what I'm doing, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
We moved here 2 years ago. I have
Okay.
not started a new layout yet. In a
Okay.
minute, I'm going to put up a backdrop where you can see what my last layout was. Then
Okay.
you'll have a better idea than all my explanation.
All
But
right.
I'm an HO mountain logging guy, 50 years experience, you name it, I've done it.
Okay.
What I do mostly right now is I install, DCC, and fix brass engines,
Okay.
mostly for the SN3 guys, but I
Okay.
also do a lot of HO.
Okay.
So I do that in the evenings, and I do life in the rest of the day.
Okay. Well, if you want to throw up your backdrop, we'll take a quick gander at your past work here.
Well, that way you get sort of a feeling
So
For-
was it,
for where I've been.
okay. And did you do Northwest logging? Oh, okay. That's kind of a wow. I like that. That's wonderful. I like the tans that you use. Those are great.
I'm going to move out of the way.
Okay. Yeah, those are outstanding. Just outstanding.
But now you get this is where I was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I had a 14 by 40 foot room. I operated every week, nearly every week, sometimes a week. And anyway, we moved and this all went in the dumpster, most of it. And I'm ready to build another one, but I haven't had the time. I've drawn the picture. It'll get built, but not today, so to speak.
Okay, I understand. All right. Well, welcome aboard and thank you for armchairing it with us.
I'm gonna throw in one last thing. I'm watching every move you make, so you better do
Cool.
it right.
Okay. So please keep me honest and please jump in and bring in your experience too, because even though you're not active right now, you've still got tons of experience to contribute to the guys. And again, we're trying to bring in all of the different techniques because there's 88 different ways to skin a cat in this.
That's
hobby.
exactly right. And I've done 87 of them, unfortunately.
I hear you. Okay, well, with that, let's kind of move forward here a little bit. And let me ask one final question. Does anybody have any questions, particularly out there in YouTube land, that may be doing the build-alongs, that have any questions on the build-alongs from the Wednesday show that they may have got a question about any of their builds right now?
I'll let you
Okay,
know I'm monitoring it, but it'll take a while for them to reply.
yeah,
There's always
that's-
that delay to YouTube.
yeah, it's uncomfortable pause. Okay, well, if something pops up, we'll just go on ahead and give me a heads up. And I'm going to move my computer up to the top side, and then we'll get on with the building process. I'm not sure why I've got the feedback coming back across, but I do for some reason.
It's gone now.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, today's show is a continuation of where we were at, and I'm gonna go on ahead and move over here. Quite frankly, everybody, I went through and spent a inordinate amount of time with this last show. Now that I kind of am getting a feel for how all of this is coming together, I'm going back and editing our past shows, starting with last week's, and adding a lot of information in the description and everything on YouTube. So it takes about 15, 17 hours of work to do one show. So I've got last week's done, but I've got to do the other ones. So that's where my concentration is. The reason I'm bringing that up is last show I did mention that I would get Will some pictures. I did not get that done because of focusing on this other thing. So I still owe Will some pictures now for the last couple of shows, and he'll get those up on the website, which will better show what I'm actually looking at here. But what I've got going is I've gone through and we've colored all of the front parts of the walls. This wall was the wall that I really am using as my
Chris,
new wall. Yes.
before you go on, do you want to try and zoom your phone in a little bit? It's
Okay.
not what we've normally seen in the past.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of your bench, which is great, but
Come on.
Also well organized.
Rat poison, it's not wanting to zoom, so let's do this.
A little more, Chris.
Okay. Well, my phone is not wanting to zoom for some reason. There we
Ooh,
go.
there
There it
you
goes.
There we go.
down a little bit. Down. Yeah. A little to your down. The other way.
Yeah.
A little more.
Get to a different angle here.
Yeah. Down. There you are. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There.
Okay.
You got it.
Right there. That looks good.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry,
There we
Chris.
go.
I do apologize to everybody for getting us a late start today and for everybody hanging in there. I don't know what happened on this one. Anyway, this is the one that I'm really trying to maximize and get the colors about. You can kind of see the weathering here and the coloring. It's 180 degrees backwards is tough.
Right there.
And so that's kind of what it is. And I go from that to what I consider this bright white. So, and what I've done here is I could go back and get the bright white much more like this with a overlay of the driftwood. If I wanted to do that, I would thin the driftwood probably about 5:1 alcohol to driftwood stain. And then I would use a fan brush to apply it. And then I could bring the colors more into something like this. That's one of the nice things about chalks is that in coloring, you always have to remember that you are working in layers all the time. So if you've noticed, however, I've got my walls basically set up so that the two walls on the old part of the building or the long part of the building are darker. The end wall is kind of in between, like it's well maintained, because this is going to be the entrance to the office. And then what I've done is I'm using the taller ones as kind of a newer type of add-on to the structure. And so they've been a little bit more recently painted, and that's why they are a little bit brighter color. My questioning on this at this point in time is, do I want to add just a touch yellow to them or not? I'm fighting that one. The other discussion I need to have at this point in time as a scratch builder is one that is really up to the individual, and it's nail holes. And are you going to add nail holes or not? Now, we talked briefly about adding nail holes prior to doing any of the weathering and everything else, or the coloring. And I said, I will make up my mind a little bit later on that as I come down the path, because I wanted to wait until this step. Right now, I'm at about the last chance to really add nail holes, because you want to add those when the units are flat in front of you. I'm really wrestling with this one, if I want to add nail holes or not. I was originally wanting to go for a little bit more dilapidated, well-used type of structure, in which case I'd probably be able to see those nail holes. But in this one, I think I'm going to go on ahead and skip it. If I was going to add nail holes to it, I would use a pounce wheel, and pounce wheels are what are used by our folks in the sewing world. And so you can pick those type of things up from places like Joanne Fabrics and stuff. And they're just little wheels that are on a little spindle. They use them to trace patterns. And I'm just not finding mine right now, right handy, but I could use that. Or if you are doing a really front of the layout build, you could go through and use a felting needle in a I'm just really having one of those days. I know I had it. A felting needle. Where are you here? Ding, 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 ding. Now these things, I know you can't see it, but if you're manually doing your nail holes, or for some of your other projects like knot holes, nail holes and things, from about here down to the tip, it's got barbs, little barbs on it. So it really makes it easy to like almost ream a very small hole. These felting needles are very, very stiff. They're a little bit brittle, but they're more like a sewing machine needle. If you've ever used those in comparison to like a straight needle, you know that they are a little bit more stiff and they don't have the spring to them, which is great for control, quite frankly. But these felting needles come in various different sizes. So you can really get them down to just about any size that you want. And if you're doing a contest quality model and you really, really want to go whole hog on it, you can stab your wood with this, or your styrene for that matter, with these, and then go back with like a Micron pin or something and add a little bit of a rust stain and then flow clear alcohol over that, and it'll leave a very, very nice rust stain going down the nail heads. Or you can come back and use a gray or a black stain, which is more typical. The other thing that you could use that I really recommend a lot are the good old everyday drafting pencils, where you can go through and get the leads very, very sharp and stab those. That'll leave you kind of a gray black, because of that graphite in there, and it does have a nice effect. So those are the pounce wheel, the straight pin, the the felting needle, and the mechanical pencils. And then finally, the last one would be a Micron pin. Those you can get down to a very, very small size. I don't think I've got one on my desk with me. I keep them all up here, but the Micron pins come in different colors, and you can grab yourself a different colored Micron pin, and these things come, where am I? I'm lost. Here we go. These things come in very, very small tips, 0.005, and this one's kind of an orange. And you can use these to add nail holes to, just by tapping them. This is also good for paper if you're doing some modifications on the paper. Let's see here. So I've talked briefly about the nail holes and informed you that I'm going to kind of skip it on that. The other thing that I did offline to this to prep the walls this past week is I went through and I put down a second layer of that cheap craft paint The first one I did was kind of quick, down and dirty, and quite frankly, I wasn't real happy with the smoothness that it came out. So I went through and put down a second layer to make it really complete and get all of the places that I missed, and kind of give it more of an, I guess I would say, a even standard coloring across the entire thing. So I'm picking up some chalk off of my work pad here. So anyway, I went through and added a little bit of coloring on these just to make them a little bit cleaner. And the other thing I did is I went through and I grabbed my plastic castings or styrene castings. These castings had been sitting in an alcohol bath for, I don't know, a week. I just pulled them off and throw them in there. That kind of like lets them clean a little bit. I then went through and sprayed them without touching them, by the way. I used forceps to apply them to the sticky double tack sticky tape. I just rolled some tack tape over and put it on here. But my point being is I did not touch them with my fingers because of the oils. It's a big thing about some people saying, hey, that makes a big difference. Personally, I have never seen that there is a big deal with oils and touching a casting before spray painting it. I've only had one issue where I ever noticed it, and it was on a little car jack, and there the paint came off, and when I picked it up to go to add it to the diorama, but that was a metal casting, and I don't know, I don't really chalk it up to the finger oils, but maybe it was. I think more likely I just somehow missed the cleaning the casting appropriately, and it had a mold release on it that created the issue. So I went through and stuck them on my casting, stuck them on the tape and pushed them down so that they wouldn't fly off. I then used a Rattle Can Paint, and this is just a camouflage paint. The nice thing about this cheap Rust-Oleum, if you're using it, the camouflage line tends to work well on styrene, a little bit better than the primer. The primer, if you're using it to prime, it leaves a little bit of a gritty texture, but that does etch the styrene a little bit better. If for later paints, if you're doing something like a acrylic, but this camouflage paint works really, really well on styrene castings. It seems to etch it and really adhere to it. So if you're doing a lot in styrene, I would tend to go more towards the Rust-Oleum camouflage colors. And you can pretty much find these in all of the useful ground tones. So I went through and cleaned those, and that brings us up to speed. And now I'm just going to go through and pull them off. And call it good. And they go back in my bucket for right now. And my bucket being my little cup. It's a tea holder, tea light holder, tea candle, something like that. So that brings me up to the next step that we need to discuss. But before I move forward, is there any questions from anybody about the colors, how I'm using the pastels, and the tones or the shades of the pastels to create a variance in colors for my structure so that I get an older and a newer part of the build to that structure. And do you have any questions about the backing on this or coloring of the back? I chose again a gray black instead of going to the straight black. Or the castings, coloring of the castings, or nail holes. Boy, everybody is so quiet out there. Okay, guys, well, this is not a show to watch Chris build. Come on, guys. Somebody's got to have some comments on something. Did I lose my entire audience?
Oh, we're still here.
Okay. Everybody's kind of quiet out there. I just can't believe it. All right. Well, if nothing else has come up, and Will, did any thing show up on YouTube on our earlier questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Well, the interactivity on this show is we're gonna have to work on that a little bit. Okay.
Chris, will you be doing any of the vertical lines, like where two boards come together on a particular, or doing any lifting of your boards?
I should do some vertical lines for sure, and that's a real good point, because along with the nail holes, this is the appropriate time to do that. And quite frankly, I'm glad you brought that up because I spaced being upfront with it. And so I'm going to go on ahead and add a couple of vertical lines. What I think that was Father Ron, I believe.
Yeah, it was me.
Okay. I think what he's referencing here are the long horizontal wall clapboards, as well as the long boards going across down these things. You obviously don't have boards all that long, and so the question is, are you going to add some cut lines to make it appear a little bit more like individual boards? And you can do that with a number 11 X-Acto. You can do it with the good old number 16. And I lost my 16 here. Where is she? Chink. There she is. Good old number 16. If you get out this number 16 blade, you will probably find that you have more control with the number 16 than you do with the number 11 for this type of thing. The heel of the number 11, even if you keep it pretty vertical, you still can very easily overcut some of your clapboards or your Scribed Siding. The other thing you can use if you're really, really good at it is a straight edge razor blade. I am not that good with those. And so my weapon of destruction is going to be the number 16. And I'm just going to go through here and figure out roughly where the 10-foot mark is. So I'm going to grab myself a scale ruler, and I'm going to start off with the clapboards first, and I'm just going to go through and kind of find out where about 10 feet is. That's about here. So just going to kind of give myself a little thing. I am, quite frankly, on this build, because it's not a super high quality build. I'm trying to just introduce more techniques and things than go for a high quality build. I'm kind of a sloppy modeler. And so what I've done here is I've made a couple of lines, and that's 10 foot, close enough. And I'm just going to use a square. If you guys don't have it, a thin, what's called a thin square, it's got a thin machinist. Here's a normal machinist square in the thin one, and you can see the chink, chink, chink. You can see the difference in thickness of the two. And so this thin one is real handy. You can obtain these from Micromart. I find it's a really useful utensil to have on your desk. And I'm just going to go through, and I know you guys can't see this very easy, but I'm just using the thing as a guide, and I'm just putting in a couple of holes here, and the thing with weathering is you don't want to overdo it. It's real easy to overdo. And this is the thing where it's a good thing to remember, less is more. So at this point, let's see here. I don't know if you can. Can see one of the lines right there, and a couple that I added. Come on, you can focus. And a couple going down. And so I've only added to this face 5. And I'll do the other ones offline. With this, it's a little bit different process. The question is, do you start from the bottom or the top? I always start from the bottom. How about you guys out there for your measurements to get a board length? And I typically do 10-foot boards on this type of thing. So my measurements are at 10 feet. What are some of the other comments on board lengths, and do you start from the bottom or start from the top? Somebody's got to have some input.
Yeah, Chris, I had a question. What do you do with batten board? Do you still, I guess, the up and down on the vertical, you make 10-foot markings?
What I guess I'm sorry, I did not understand the question.
He was mentioning
Okay.
batten board.
If you're using batten board.
Oh, bats.
Yeah,
Bats, I will typically, well, I guess I need to backtrack here. I'm going to let somebody else answer that question because quite frankly, when I do board and bat siding, I really have not done it with scribe sheet. I always do individual board by board structures for probably the past 20 years. Everything I've done has been board by board. And so I do my own board and bat structures. So then you naturally come up with that type of breaks in the board.
Yeah, I understand. If you're using individual pieces, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering if this one,
Yeah, we can see that, Chris.
yeah, what I'm trying to find though. There we
Right
go.
there.
Boy, I have to get it way over. Is I guess this one I used full lengths on because I'm not seeing any that I went through. And this is just a small miner's cabin. So there's one in the middle right there where you can see that I have one board split, but I didn't really split that many boards on this one. If it's a real tall one, then I typically will cut my boards before I apply them to 10 or 12 foot lengths. And then I will go through and add them. And so that naturally gives me the breaks, if you will. Plus I go through and on all of my boards, when I cut them on the edges, I come back with a wire brush and I wire brush the ends of the boards so that I've got a board, say, and I'll just do this to it. And I do it on both sides. And then when I go through to weather it, I use a technique where I just pull out the stain and then use the stain in the lid, and I call it lid staining. And it gives me more control over the stain in the wicking process. And so then when you have the natural splits with the coloring, it appears. So I'm going to defer that question to some of the gang out there that may have worked with a board and bat and adding that. Do you go over the bat and the board both, or how do you guys do that?
Can I jump in here for a second?
Sure.
You're talking board and batten. I don't know if you can see this structure here. This is a paper structure with individual battens made of a different shade of paper.
Share your screen. There you are.
There we go. Okay.
And just to show you what can be done with paper.
Okay. Okay. But you know, we've got a real good question going here for scribed siding or for the paper type of thing. Do you guys go in and add, you know, if you've got a wall that's 25 foot tall, you add just marks at 10 or 12 feet, or what do you do?
I would cut it at 10 or 12 feet.
Okay, and do you cut over the batten or just the board?
No, don't cut over the batten.
Okay, so you got
your batten usually runs over top of that area where it's cut.
right.
And you can cut it up higher
Right.
or lower.
Right. And let's see here. What tool do you use to cut those in, say, HO scale? Wow, that's a great building.
Yeah, I'll cut those with number 11. So I actually take the board or where the board is, use the number 11 exactly. So you got a sharp point. So you can kind of start just underneath the batten or the bat itself. And then
Okay.
drag the knife towards you.
Okay.
And then turn it around and work the other side. So you go to the center of the board.
Okay. And have you ever modified or tried to modify a number 11 blade to make that cut easier?
No, the number 11 is just because it's got that sharp point, you can start and kind of stab underneath the rays of the batten and then drag backwards.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that's a real good question because I, quite frankly, with individual board by board, it just naturally falls into place. But I've never done it with Scribe, so that was an outstanding question. How about Scribe siding like this? Do you use a number 11 or a number 16?
I use an 11 on everything.
Okay,
And when I break the tip quite frequently, I just change it out. So I've always got that work. And where I need to widen it, I'll actually twist the blade from side to side a little bit. So it kind of
Okay.
opens the gap in the wood.
right, okay. How about somebody else? Any other thoughts on this one?
Well, Chris, I have another question. I don't know if it can be answered.
Okay.
With the sheet batten board, when you're going to be installing windows on the batten board, do you make room? Do you cut away part of the, the thin boards when you put it in? In other words, is the window flat against the background boards? Or do you just lay it over both of the boards and just assume there's something in there that keeps the water out? I
Yeah,
don't know if that's clear, but do you
yes,
cut
it
away
is.
okay.
You get, what you're asking is, do you get rid of that gap?
Yeah,
And
Put your
um,
batten down.
Yeah, I always trim the batten down as well. So I'll put it like if it's a titchy window,
Yeah.
you can just drop it in place and then mark the edge. And then come back and chisel out that little edge so you get a nice flush fit against the
yeah, it lays flat then, yeah. No, okay, thank you.
okay, yeah, I mean, that's a good point, and quite frankly, I have done that a little bit. I normally build making my own window frames, so it's a real non-issue as far as that goes. But I'm trying to think back. I have submitted a couple of models for contest quality builds in my earlier career of model building, if you will. And I don't ever recall being docked for just applying the castings over the raised surfaces, be it clapboard or be it board and bat.
A lot of them don't think of it that way. They do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, have I ever in my judging, I've never, when I've looked at windows and stuff, I've never gone and judged somebody or knocked somebody down on a model because of it. And I've never made a comment, and I can't recall any other judges ever saying anything about that. It would be much more pronounced in O scale than it would be in HO.
You wouldn't notice it. You wouldn't notice it as much in a window casting, but if you have a laser cut kit like ourselves, I would always recommend cutting that, because if you just lay a flat window frame against it, you're going to have a gap in the sash or in the instep.
And behind the sash, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I'm going back to the 70s and stuff, trying to recollect, as well as I haven't judged now for, it's been like 5 years, so 4 years. So the laser kits really weren't super popular in contests and things of that nature, other than some details. So I'm trying to think if we've ever run into that. I don't know if somebody would knock you off on it these days.
No.
The laser cut kits, Daryl brings up a really good point. They're so much more accurate than what we're used to seeing, that it may stand out on a laser cut kit if the casting fits over that. Versus being fitted underneath or fitted into the framing. So I'm trying to think of some of the instructions that I may have seen with laser kits, and
I don't think I've ever seen it mentioned, Rich.
yeah, I'm thinking that I saw it one place and I think it was a Foss kit for some reason, but I'm not sure. But yeah, but that's a really good point. So I think it more is dependent on the scale than anything else. If I am working in O scale, because I work in HO and O, I'd be much more prone to do it. In HO scale, I tend to be a little bit sloppier because it's easier to hide the mistakes. And I put what's called the 2-foot rule into play a lot, which is if you can't see it at 2 foot, forget about it. You know, so unless I'm doing a contest build. I've never seen it mentioned in the fine scale miniature kits, which are HO, to cut away that area so that the casting fits more snugly. I can't recall in any Sierra West scale model kits that I've done that it was ever included. And those are the 2 kit manufacturers that I would really say are high end quality wise, where this type of thing would come into play.
I have never seen it, Chris. Never.
Okay. Anybody else have some comments on it? I tend to agree with you. I can't recall, except maybe that once, and I can't even recall if it was a Foscale kit or not.
Just as a comment, you'll see it in our kits. So we're fairly anal.
Cool. I like it.
No.
All right. Well, that's really good input. And
In O scale, Chris, I would normally put the window in and then put the batten on afterward, board by board, then the batten after the window.
Yeah, if it's board by board, for sure.
yeah, that's exactly how I would do it. And again, I tend to build my own window frames and stuff anyway when I'm, 1/4 inch. So it kind of fits. Any other thoughts? And Will, what is our timing looking like today?
Well, we're about an hour in,
We're about an hour in. Okay,
considering we started a little.
a little late.
Yeah,
Um,
it's.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change my clocks or something. I can't. I apologize to everybody on that one. Let's see here. Will, were you able to download those pictures?
Yep, I've got them.
Okay. Well, let's run a quick sponsor video for the quick sponsor there, and then we'll go on ahead and bring up some pictures and take a brief break from all of this while we regather our thoughts.
Okay, give me.
This is just one of those days.
No, it just takes a while for me to get there.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O Scale Resource and the S Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
All right, well, thank you. And let's see here, Will, when you get a chance, if you can go on ahead and bring up the first picture. I received from Ken, who actually is a moderator on the new tracks and does a lot of work for us in the background, and I want to thank him. I know he puts in enormous amounts of time making sure not only my show but the Wednesday show works. He forwarded to me a list of links to some various pictures from an IO group that he is connected with. And I believe it's called Rusty something. And Ken, if you are available, if you can pop in or maybe type it in on the YouTube thing, we can go through and take tell everybody the IO group. But these are just a few of the pictures that he sent us, but I'm going to go through and discuss them and tell you why I'm looking at these various different pictures in particular to bring them out. And it's just kind of a way to use pictures in your modeling. Now, the first one here is just, all of these, by the way, are icing operations. And so this one has a real simple, easy to build type of a platform, if you will, up on top of the reefer there. You can see that it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to build. By way and far, the most complicated piece is going to be the forklift, but you know, it's just one method of icing, which I found kind of interesting. It's a one-man job up there, and hopefully they keep that sucker balanced so that the thing doesn't come down. Okay, the next picture, Will. And for those of you that don't want to go that far into it, here is a great styrene project. The reason I'm saying styrene is you can get really clean corners and everything with styrene. And I would probably weather the styrene to make it look a little bit more like metal. I don't know if these are wood or metal, the little ramp. I can see where they may not be metal because it would tend to stick. But the other thing that's kind of interesting is that up on top, we've got the two guys watching and coaching, and then the other two guys, manual and labor, doing the actual task. So it's typical of everything that goes on, I think. But the other interesting thing about this picture is the color of the ice block. It kind of gives you a little bit of ideas if you wanted to frost your acrylic or whatever, the ice block, here's an excuse to do that. And the next picture. I got this one because I love the color in this one. It gives you a real idea of the color of the ice blocks that one can come across. So we don't necessarily have to have really clear ice blocks. And again, just a fairly simple ramp. This one's a little bit more complex. Looks like it may be power driven even, I'm not sure. But a different type of an operation, but same basics underneath everything. So this would be a interesting little scratch build off on the side if somebody would want to add a detail scene. But the big point is notice the tools that the two workmen have and the color of the ice. Okay, next picture. This one I absolutely adore. The scissors jack there for the truck bed, to lift it up is really kind of nifty in my book. And this one's a real simple lift. There's a couple of other pictures in that IO group that we've posted, or I believe Will has got them posted to the website. And you can see some other pictures of the scissor jack type of lift mechanism using a dump truck. But this one's the simplest, the simplest one and the cleanest one if you were to try to model it. And, you know, just a couple of pieces of evergreen styrene, I-beam, and a few modifications there on the bottom of the dump truck kit, and you'd have yourself a scissors kit to be able to make something like this. Next one. And this is a different one showing a different era truck. And I think the last one had two pneumatics lifting the scissor jack, whereas this one has a single. But again, notice the color of the ice block too. Also, I like the way that the dump truck, the side bracing there is broad at the bottom and goes more towards a point at the top, or gets thinner at the top. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And I can't really tell if it's just something on the wall behind it, or if the back side of that dump truck side slides down or somehow falls down so that the guys don't have to lift it over. Well, I guess it is just a part of the window in the back. So I don't know if the guy has to lift the ice blocks over the sides or not. If he is, it's hernia time. So anyway, okay. And I think there's one more, is there not? One or two more?
I'm not sure. Nope, that was it.
Okay, well, that kind of gives you a little bit of a breather from what we're doing here, because we always want to go back and look at pictures as we're going through the course of modeling these things to pick up ideas that we may want to work in, colors, other thoughts. And so just because you do your research at the beginning, periodically take a break and look at other pictures and things that may be appropriate to what you're doing, to give you other ideas and to kind of keep it fresh a little bit. You'll find that your modeling does improve by doing that. And I can't tell you why, but it does, or at least mine has from experience. And the two other people I've told to do that have told me that they've also experienced more enjoyment out of the hobby by constantly finding little scenes that they can add to their modeling to bring it more to life. Again, I'm a dioramist, and so I do understand if you guys have big layouts, you may not have the time to do all of this, but for those of you that do have the time, there's a couple of ideas. I guess that brings us down to the next step, which is adding the trim. And so I need to have one other conversation here, and that's on, I'm just straightening out a little edge that I found. That's the trim. When we build the model, we're going to have a wall going in between the two things. And so the question comes down, do you want to add a 4x4 or excuse me, a square piece of strip wood along this edge? Or do you want to use a couple of 1x to form a seal over the edge? You need to do something to hide that gap. If you're doing it with strip wood, you probably would want to apply the strip wood about now. That way you can, when you go to glue your walls together, you can make sure that you have a flush seam. So it's kind of like, you know, you got to make a decision on what you are doing. Now, does anybody have any experience in the construction industry to let me know, or to say something about clapboard siding versus horizontal siding and the type of edging that they typically would use to cover that corner? Boy. Okay, then those of you that do this type of thing, what are your thoughts about it?
Usually 1x is what you use on the corners, and it's normally put on first and you put your siding up against it. That's what I found.
Okay,
But in this case, I don't think it's as noticeable, especially in HO. You could just put your corner pieces on in 1x after.
okay. That's, yeah, you'd want to, if you're doing the 1x's, which would be a sheet on each edge or each face, you're going to definitely want to do it after you glue your
Yes.
corners together. If it's strip wood, you're going to want to do it right now, because when you come up with the other piece, you want it to be flush to that both edges, and so to create a nice square corner there. So you've got to make the determination on which one you're going to use at this point in time.
If you want a flush corner, you'd have to 45 your one side of your 1x.
Right. Well, yeah. Or in HO, you can get by with just
Shaving a little bit.
There, yeah. That's one of those cheats, but because a 1x is pretty thin. I don't bother trying to angle it to get a true flush on that. Personally, I don't even do it in O scale, but I am not that high of a caliber of modeler, quite frankly.
Well, if I can interject, the kits I've built usually tell you to do the corner post, which is what simulates those two typically 1x6s that are put on the corner. It's usually on a kit. It's a piece that's a square stock, and most kits that I've built, I think all the kits I've built, tell you to glue those corner pieces before you assemble the walls. I've actually never followed those directions. I've always glued up my walls, leaving that angled gap in the corner, and then added the filler piece after the fact.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes,
It looks
when
better.
I read the instructions, I just kind of went, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to put it in after. And you just have to be careful with your glue so you don't get too much glue that squeezes out. But even if you do, it's easy enough to just clean out the corner. And even if it doesn't fit, you can back bevel the corner piece to fit it in. I've always done it after the fact.
Right. I totally concur with you, and that's why I'm bringing it up here, because I think you said it very distinctly of what I was trying to express, that you know, that's the way to do it. There was one other thing while Will was talking, one other thing that came to mind, and that's to use a angled piece. They do mill wood with that's kind of an L bracket, if you will, or in evergreen styrene. You can buy them, and it's just two pieces with a 90-degree angle. And you can use that cover too as an edge. And that's another way to do it. You know, so if you've got that stuff available, you can utilize that. I do have some of that, which Richard Wolfinger sent to me, so I'll probably try to use that on the tall sections to show that stuff. So,
Chris, could I say something?
yep.
Do I keep my space bar down?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not trying to cloud over your show here, but you asked me to show a couple pictures since you're on your trim.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna share my screen now and show you what I put on mine.
Okay. And I might note that Richard is building an HO scale, and he is scratch building this. He's a little bit ahead of us, but he can tell us a couple of things that he's done that's a little bit different to give some techniques to some of the folks, so that they may utilize, because he uses different techniques than I do.
I don't understand. I'm trying to stop my photos, but they keep
Just click on it. It'll stop.
reeling ahead.
I don't know. That's been a good preview so far.
Get to see the whole building.
Well, you
Yeah,
saw
really.
Yes. Just click on it, right, and see what happens.
Rich obviously isn't used to taking pictures of his builds.
Nice job.
All right, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now what I do on my trim, it's not just because it's horizontal boards here, but I take the two long walls and put trim on those. And then I don't have to put any on the angled piece on the front or the back because they're on the other side. So when I go to glue those together, they're going to attach okay. Plus I put a floor in this. And this is my interior. The inside bracing here is for stud walls because I want to show an interior. The silver wood part is my storage area, and the other brownish walls are for the office. And I did have a partition wall, which is in the center on the top three that are shown there. Now I corner post for the inside interior for the office, which is the light brown walls that are shown. Will match on the corners when I get to gluing that together. And I'll show you just that one piece here. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I meant was where those two walls come together, my inside trim, one isn't larger than the other. So those are HO 4x4s for those interior studs on the light brown wall.
Okay.
So at the corner, you see them both glued together. And then that line drawn across my flooring was for where my interior partition wall goes. I didn't want it more or less than 90 degrees when I went to glue that together. That's why I drew that on there. But if you look next to the front door to the right, you'll see the bottom also has 4x4s, and they're glued to that floor. And it just looks really good in there.
Yeah, it does. Okay. So, and all of this is scale 2x4s
Where?
that you're on the inside that you're framing. It's all scale 2x4 or 2x,
Oh, that's
or are you
Uh,
using 4x4?
the 4x4s are on the light brown front office. And my silver wood is, those are 2x10s.
Okay. Yeah, I'm focused on the framing, so, okay,
Or 2x8s, I think.
okay, okay.
That's all
All right. Excellent, excellent. Okay. All right, well, thank you, Rich. That gives us some clues on what's going on. Rich, I'm gonna ask you to also, when we hit building the doors and for the warehouse and for the tank to come back and show us how you created your part of that build, since you gave us quick previews of that. So I guess it comes down to, I'm going to try to use a combination of a couple of things. The other question is where my tall building comes into contact with my back wall, because
Hey, Chris,
have a,
I think we've lost your phone.
oh, okay. Isn't that fun? Boy, one of those days. Somewhere, folks, I yanked out my power cable to my phone and she went dead on me. Okay, well, rather than sit here and wait for a few minutes and everything else, I'm gonna change gears then. This is called modeling on the fly. And Will, I'm gonna bring back my computer. Oh boy, what a day. Okay, well, I think we're at a good stopping place. I guess the question here for myself is, what am I going to use for my corner trim? And I'm going to try to use all three of them. So it's going to make my building a little bit of a hodgepodge, quite frankly. But I'm going to use all three of them if I can. The three of them being the 1-bys forming an L, and then the milled L corners, and then the strip wood for 6x6 or 4x4, depending on the size that I need on the corners. So I'm going to try to use those three different materials just to show what it looks like here. So yes, my overall structure will have a little bit of a hodgepodge, but again, we're doing this as kind of a training practice structure to just kind of get some ideas and principles across. So with that, I'm going to go on ahead and kind of end the show for today and call it a day. But before I do that, I'd like to go back and see if there's any other comments, questions, thoughts, or anything somebody would like to bring up. Again, this is a show meant for you guys and is based on your input. So.
Hey, Rick, Chris, Bernie.
Hi.
Okay, I gotta hold my space bar down. Can you unmute me? Because I need both hands for this.
Yeah, either that or you can
You're not-
unmute
you're
yourself.
unmuted.
There you go. You're unmuted.
Okay.
We went mute again.
We went mute again?
No, you're
Yeah,
good.
go on ahead and just click on your, use your mouse and click
No,
the
you're not muted at all.
microphone.
I'm not muted. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've been building right along with you guys, but I've been building something different. I've been doing an engine house, a Sodom metal engine house.
Okay.
And I had to make 12 windows for it because I didn't like the styrene that came with it. So I'll probably have to go to screen share to show this. Should I give it
Okay.
a try? I'll go to,
Yeah. Go to
Okay.
click on the green screen share.
and then
And-
whiteboard.
I think it'll say local there. Let's see here.
No,
Just click on green share and it should share screen.
Yeah,
I did, and it comes up with, I got Chris, I got whiteboard, iPhone pad, and then some photos. I don't see where I could flip it over to where I am.
Hmm.
Oh, wait a minute.
there
There
you
you
go.
go.
There you go. Yeah, but where's my camera?
There
There you
it
are.
is.
Am I on there for you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're on
All right,
the,
let's
we're
go.
seeing your desktop right now.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see if I can, no, okay.
Before you
Um,
guys see this, he's a master in metal.
Thanks, Rich. You're still not gonna get a beer. Okay, you're,
Yeah, I see you in this small little speaking screen. So, but in the big screen, I see just the desktop.
you're screen sharing live.
So
Yeah, stop your screen share, Burn.
Okay. There we go.
there we go. Okay.
And I'll just spotlight you so that we can see you. There you
All
go.
right. These are the windows I made for the screen. There's 20 pieces in there and 38 solder joints. Now, I did 12 of these windows. That. Yeah, let's see if I can hold this all together. Will fit into the. There.
Wow.
This
Lots
is
of
a.
fun.
Wow.
So then the other thing I did, it's hard to see now that it's painted. Well, maybe I can if you get it the right angle, is I made these window frames out of 10,000 styrene and they were cut on my CNC machine. I had to do 12 of those also. And then they were soldered on. Then I basically took this outside and washed it with probably you guys will remember the smell. It's called naphtha. You use it in your cigarette lighters. I washed the whole building down to get the grease off so the paint would stick. So I'm still working on it. The inside needs to get painted. And then I got to figure out some way how I'm going to fasten those windows inside because I can't solder them anymore. So I guess it's going to be down to glue. And I'm also going to do something that I seen on the rail line forums a guy do is fill each of the windows in with crystal clear instead of using the clear styrene to go through, and it'll give
Okay.
it some different colors. So that's what I'm working on.
Okay. Well, the other thought that I've got is a microscope cover slide.
I've got some of those, a real glass, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try this method that he used. He used crystal clear coat and he mixed some green in with it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Rich knows who I'm talking about. I think it's Greg that built the roundhouse.
So does Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, did you hear back from Greg Shaney?
No, I did not.
That's who he's referring to.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what I'm doing while you guys are building an ice house.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, that shows, it's appropriate to bring that up. So for those of you that are wanting to try to make your own windows and more advanced scratch building techniques, there's an example of it. quite frankly, I have not brought that into this build at that advanced level because I'm trying to build on techniques. And so we're starting out simply and going to more and more complicated things. The one thing that I am not going to do is light this building. And I've been trying to contact a gentleman by the name of Greg who does some wonderful work with lighting and making his own lights. He's got a company that creates, or that he knows of, that actually makes the little gooseneck lamps and everything, the shades and things that he utilizes to be able to put the wires in. He's got a method of using the wires and things to create the gooseneck lamp holder, shade holders. But he's outstanding at what he does with the electronics and lighting and things. And so I've been trying to get a hold of him to have him come on the show here and take up a large part of the show, because there appears to be a lot of interest in potentially lighting the structure. And of course, that would fit not only this structure, but just about any other structure out there. So I'm working on that. So that's an upcoming segment, I guess. All right. Any other questions, thoughts, or anything? Okay, well, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I apologize for the late start, and we'll get that corrected next week. And with that, I'm going to go on ahead and shut her down here. And for those that want to, please feel free to stick on for the post show for a couple of minutes, comments and thoughts. And let's see here. So